The universe has already begun to conspire in your favor. Even if you can't yet feel the currents shifting, 5 mysterious signals are about to announce that the very person your soul has been searching for across lifetimes is about to enter your life, shattering everything you thought you knew about connection. What I'm about to reveal to you today will fundamentally reshape your understanding of how destiny truly operates. Imagine for a moment that you have been living for months in preparation for an introduction that hasn't happened yet. Your subconscious is already picking up transmissions from someone you've never laid eyes on, yet their energy has already started a slow dance with yours. In his most profound research, Carl Jung discovered that monumental connections are never left to chance. They are initiated by an unseen cosmic intelligence that begins its work months before the first glance, aligning you from within, calibrating you for a meeting that will transform your entire perception of love and purpose. Today you will finally understand why your life has felt so strange and surreal lately, why familiar routines have suddenly lost their vibrancy, and why you find yourself waking in the dead of night with an indefinable sense that something monumental is approaching, even though you can't put a name to it. These phenomena, which you might have dismissed as anxieties or confusing phases, are, in reality, the subtle fingerprints of a cosmic choreography preparing you for the most important encounter of your existence. Jung identified the collective unconscious as an invisible web that magnetically draws souls together long before they physically meet. It's as if two people are already in energetic communion, their frequencies slowly sinking while they still inhabit completely separate worlds. What you mistake for coincidence is a precise orchestration. What appears to you as chaos is the beginning of an order far grander than anything you can possibly imagine. The first sign of this mystical preparation manifests in your body as a kind of loving rebellion against all your established rhythms. Your sleep becomes disrupted, but not in a way that feels unhealthy or anxious. Instead, you might find yourself waking consistently just before dawn, wide awake and strangely alert, as if a whisper from across the world has just spoken your name. These pre-dawn awakenings are not a sleep disorder you should fear. They are, in fact, precious moments when your energy field is already making contact with another soul, whose dreams are beginning to intertwine with your own somewhere out there. This somatic wisdom, as Jung would call it, also reveals itself in the sudden and inexplicable transformation of your relationship with your own reflection. Without any conscious decision or rational thought, you begin to tend to your appearance in a completely different way. You might find yourself drawn to wearing a piece of inherited jewelry you've ignored for years. Feeling it now holds a new significance. You might suddenly paint a room in your home a color you once disliked, or start dressing in a style that expresses a version of yourself that is only now emerging. This isn't about vanity or superficial self-improvement. It is your subconscious mind preparing you to be seen, truly seen, by the exact pair of eyes that already know what you are meant to look like. This process can feel disorienting, as if you are a passenger in your own life. Decisions about your appearance or environment seem to make themselves guided by an unseen hand. It's crucial during this time to surrender to this inner guidance. You are not losing control, you are aligning with a deeper, more authentic version of yourself, a self that is being polished and prepared to reflect the light of the connection that is to come. These physical transformations are not random shifts or whims of fashion. They are part of a deeper process Jung described as an archetypal constellation, where the unconscious begins to physically and energetically optimize you for a meeting that will fundamentally alter your life's path. You are becoming a more finely tuned instrument, capable of recognizing and creating resonances that remain completely invisible to others. The second sign of this mysterious preparation reveals itself as a kind of sacred departure from everything that no longer belongs to the person you must become. Jung described this fascinating phenomenon as a divine aversion, a psychic purification that automatically activates when a transformative encounter is near. Suddenly, places that once brought you joy and comfort lose their magic. You walk into your favorite bookstore, a place you've cherished for years, and feel like a stranger, as if you've stepped back into a world that is no longer yours. This aversion is not fickle or superficial. It stems from a deep psychic wisdom that detects energetic dissonance with startling precision. Music that once moved you to tears now sounds hollow and meaningless. Films you once loved seem shallow and contrived. People whose company you've valued for years suddenly feel draining or energetically heavy, even though they themselves haven't changed at all. You develop a kind of allergy to superficiality and insincerity. Small talk becomes a form of torture. Empty conversations about trivial matters feel like a theft of your precious time. Social gatherings start to feel like theatrical performances where everyone is playing a role you no longer want or are able to play. Your soul is conducting an automatic and thorough cleanse, systematically making room for the kind of depth and authenticity that is on its way to you. This cleansing period often brings a profound sense of solitude. It is not a lonely or desolate feeling, but rather a sacred emptiness. You are creating a vacuum, a quiet space within your life and your spirit, free from the noise of mismatched energies. It is within this quietude that you become able to hear the subtle whispers of your own soul and eventually, the harmonious frequency of the soul that is drawing near. This phase of departure can be confusing and at times painful, as it cannot be explained by logic or rational choices. You might wonder why your tastes and preferences have changed so drastically and seemingly without reason. The answer lies in Jung's profound understanding of individuation as a process that prepares us not only for personal growth, but for meaningful encounters. Your subconscious is performing a wise and automatic clearing of the slate, making way for energies and experiences that will be in perfect harmony with your evolving destiny. The third sign manifests as the mysterious and often painful dissolution of old bonds that have long structured your life. Jung described this profound phenomenon as a symbolic death, a necessary process of psychic renewal that creates energetic space for new, more significant connections. Friendships that were stable and enriching for years begin to grow distant, often without dramatic fallouts or obvious conflicts. It is as if an invisible hand is gently untying the threads of old loyalties, freeing you for something greater and more profound. This emotional distancing often happens subtly and gradually, which makes it even more bewildering. Conversations with longtime friends become more superficial, losing their former depth and meaning. Topics that once connected you for hours seem to lose their relevance and spark. Shared memories, once vivid and meaningful, feel like stories from another life, a life you once lived but which no longer belongs to you. Allow yourself to grieve these endings. A symbolic death is still a death, and the loss of long-standing friendships can bring real pain. This is not a sign of weakness, but of the depth of your capacity to love. Honoring this grief is part of the process, a final tribute to the connections that shaped you and brought you to this very threshold of transformation. It takes immense courage to stand in the space between what was and what will be. Jung recognized with his characteristic clarity that every transformative encounter requires a complete reorganization of one's entire psychic and emotional system. Old patterns of connection, familiar dynamics of giving and receiving, and accustomed forms of support and emotional dependency must dissolve to make room for a bond that will operate on a completely different, deeper level. You experience a phase of relational emptiness that doesn't feel like lack, but like fertile anticipation, like a field that has been tilled and is ready to receive new seeds. Sometimes conflicts also arise seemingly out of nowhere with people close to you, with whom you previously lived in harmony. Discussions escalate over minor issues that would have once been resolved with ease and humor. Misunderstandings multiply, as if a communication barrier is forming between you, leaving both sides frustrated and confused. These tensions are not accidental or unfortunate. They are unconscious mechanisms creating necessary emotional and energetic distance. Your soul is systematically making room for new forms of intimacy and understanding. The fourth sign appears in the dramatic and often overwhelming amplification of your intuitive and psychic abilities. Your dreams transform from ordinary nightly fantasies into vivid, symbol-rich messages that touch you with an intensity you have never experienced before. You wake up in the morning with the distinct feeling of having received crucial information or guidance, even if you cannot fully decode or understand its content. Jung understood this as the awakening of the anima in men or the sacred masculine in women, a profound psychic activation necessary to recognize one's archetypal complement. These nightly visions have a completely different quality than ordinary dreams. They are imbued with a significance and symbolism that transcends the purely personal, touching on collective, universal themes. You dream of symbols, colors, and landscapes that trigger a deep, inexplicable resonance in the most hidden corners of your soul. Sometimes you dream of people with familiar faces whom you have never met in your waking life, yet who exude a mysterious sense of belonging, as if you have known them forever. Jung would see these dreams as preparations by the collective unconscious, prophetic glimpses into archetypal patterns that are about to manifest in your life. In parallel with these intensified dreams, you develop an almost clairvoyant ability to see through people and situations with a clarity that surprises and sometimes even frightens you. You sense the hidden motivations behind kind words and warm gestures. You recognize authenticity and falsehood with a precision that leaves no room for self-deception. This heightened perception is not paranoid or suspicious, but simply clear and direct, like a sharp knife that effortlessly cuts through all illusions. The greatest challenge during this phase is to trust this newfound clarity. Your intuition will often speak in a quiet voice, a subtle nudge that contradicts the loud demands of logic and the opinions of those around you. Learning to honor these psychic whispers over external validation is a critical step in your preparation. You are being taught to navigate not by what you see, but by what you feel and know on a soul level. Your intuition becomes a precise and reliable instrument of knowing. You suddenly know things about people and situations without having any logical or rational basis for this knowledge. You sense the truth behind spoken words and recognize potentials and possibilities that remain completely hidden to others. This sharpening of your psychic senses is not happening by chance. It is a necessary preparation for an encounter that will demand total authenticity and uncompromising truthfulness. The fifth and perhaps most fascinating sign manifests as a magnetic and irresistible attraction to completely new areas of interest, subjects, and activities. Jung called this phenomenon unconscious preparation, a kind of precognitive wisdom that builds bridges into the future long before you have any idea what they are for. Suddenly, you become fascinated by topics, hobbies, or fields of knowledge that were never even remotely part of your personality or interests. You develop obsessive curiosities that seem to come out of nowhere and have no logical connection to your life so far. These new passions and interests are not gradual developments or logical extensions of your existing preferences. They strike you like bolts of inspiration and insight. You suddenly find yourself buying and devouring books on ancient cartography, even though you've never shown an interest in history. You sign up for a class on regenerative agriculture without understanding where the urge came from. You begin learning a few phrases in a language you have no plans to use, a language that has never been part of your dreams. These seemingly irrational impulses spring from a wisdom of the unconscious that sees far beyond the present moment, already recognizing the contours of a future that is still invisible to your conscious self. Your inner system is systematically building a repertoire of knowledge, skills, precede, and conversation topics that will perfectly match a soul that has not yet entered your life. It is developing competencies and interests for a connection that does not yet exist, but whose energetic signature has already reached your psychic antennae. You are becoming a more multifaceted and complex version of yourself, ready for an encounter that will demand not only emotional and physical resonance, but also intellectual and creative resonance at the highest level. This transformation often occurs in a phase of heightened creativity and exceptional readiness to learn. You absorb information and new skills with a speed and depth that surprises you. You grasp complex concepts intuitively and develop practical skills with astonishing ease. This entire phase of expansion and preparation is marked by an energy and a thirst for knowledge that seem to go beyond your normal capacities. It is as if your mind and your entire being are gearing up for an encounter that will require intellectual, emotional, and creative stimulation on a level that surpasses all your previous experiences. You are unconsciously preparing to communicate and resonate with a person who will engage and challenge every facet of your potential. When the predestined encounter finally happens, the entire preceding choreography falls into a pattern whose perfection and elegance leaves you speechless. Jung spoke of the conjunctio, the alchemical union that justifies all the unconscious preparation and glorifies it in a single moment of recognition. You realize with shocking and wonderful clarity why everything had to happen exactly as it did. Every physical change, every painful departure, every new fascination was a necessary part of a larger, wiser plan. The person who enters your life triggers a paradoxical and deeply moving sensation. They are at once completely new, unknown, and exciting, and yet anciently familiar, as if you have known them forever. This is what Jung called archetypal recognition, a reunion on a level that lies beyond personal history and rational explanation. You feel with every fiber of your being that this is not just another romantic encounter or a random attraction, but the fulfillment of a cosmic destiny that was written in the stars before you were even born. The energetic frequency to which you have been unconsciously tuning yourself for months or even years finally finds its perfect match. It is like the first interplay of two instruments that have been tuned to each other by the universe itself. The harmony is not contrived or learned, but natural, effortless, and inevitable. You understand in that moment with crystal clear certainty that the entire strange and sometimes confusing preparation of recent times served only this one life-altering moment. Jung, with his characteristic precision, distinguished between connections that arise from lack, neediness, or psychic projections and those that are born from true archetypal complementarity. Destined encounters do not bring together two incomplete people who desperately want to complete themselves in the other, but two already whole and developed beings, who consciously choose to share and merge their respective completeness. It is not the desperate search for the missing piece of one's own soul, but the joyful discovery of a resonance that makes what is already complete even richer, deeper, and more radiant. This kind of encounter triggers a deep, unshakable certainty that goes far beyond romantic infatuation, limerence, or emotional dependency. You feel that something fundamental has shifted in the entire structure of your life and your reality. Something so profound that it can never be undone, nor should it be. It is not the desperate or anxious clinging to an idealized image or projection, but the calm, deep recognition of a truth that has always existed, but has only now become visible, tangible, and livable. The 5 mysterious signs that preceded this life-changing moment now reveal themselves as the elegant, necessary, and perfect preparation for a connection that will fundamentally transform your entire understanding of relationships, love, and human connection. You realize that the universe does indeed possess a deep order, a loving intelligence, and a wise guidance that extends far beyond anything random, chaotic, or meaningless. There are invisible forces that work tirelessly even when we do not see or understand them. Patterns and laws that unfold majestically even when they remain hidden from our limited minds. In this profound realization lies a peace and a trust that dissolve all fears and doubts forever. You finally understand that you were never truly navigating life alone, that you were never at the mercy of chance or the arbitrariness of fate. There is a benevolent, wise order that has guided you from the very beginning, prepared you, and brought you step by step to that which completes your soul and makes it shine. The strange bodily changes, the painful loneliness, the inexplicable fascinations and aversions, they were all precious gifts from a higher intelligence whose sole purpose was, and is, for you to find and experience what you truly need and deserve. If you recognize these subtle yet powerful signs in your own life, then know with certainty that you are already in the midst of a sacred process. The universe is, at this very moment, adjusting your innermost essence, calibrating your entire system, and creating energetic space for something extraordinary and wonderful. Trust this process with everything that is in you, even when it can be confusing, painful, or unsettling. Every change, every apparent disruption, every new attraction or aversion serves a greater, wiser purpose that will reveal itself in perfect clarity in its own time. Each of these 5 signs is a thread in a magnificent cosmic tapestry being woven specifically for you. They are not isolated events, but an interconnected, intelligent sequence designed to guide you from one state of being to another. Like a ship navigating by the stars, these signs are your celestial markers, assuring you that you are on the right course even when the sea feels vast and the destination is still beyond the horizon. The journey itself is transforming you into the person capable of receiving the love you are destined for. The mysterious signs are already all around you, just waiting to be recognized and honored. Your body is already speaking a language of preparation that your mind must still learn to understand. Old connections and loyalties are gently dissolving to make way for new, deeper forms of love. Your perception is sharpening with each passing day for a recognition that will change your entire life. New passions and interests are awakening, building bridges to a future that is still unseen.